Welcome everyone to LinkedIn Live. I'm Mark Stabina from Winning EQ. I love these LinkedIn Lives. Welcome to all of you from wherever you're tuning in from during your workday. Some of you might not be working. Very envious of you. We're going to get to work here and we're going to educate and inspire, which is what I'm always trying to do with LinkedIn Live. And I've promoted my guest and just want to give a little bit of a background before I bring him onto your screen. Alistair Bailey we're talking to today, a friend of mine, a former colleague. He played professional rugby for 11 years, so we share very similar backgrounds. He played for teams in England, professional teams like Saracens, the world famous Saracens, Worcester Warriors, before moving out to Australia to play for the Eastern Suburbs, the Easties Beasties. Any rugby players online right now will know who I'm talking about. And that's when we met. So we actually met when Al took the role as director of rugby for a very exclusive, very expensive private school, I might add, which suits Alistair Bailey's personality perfectly. Sydney Grammar School in the middle of Sydney. And I was asked to come in and do some kind of coaching. He was the main man. I came in to do some sessions here and there. I was still very active in my professional career, and we obviously hit it off, became great friends and colleagues for a couple of seasons there before I took off overseas. Now, we lost contact, which happens when things like that go on. He stayed in Sydney and coached, and very recently, in fact, just the other day, we reconnected, which was such a delight after 23 years, 20 odd years of seeing Al in the flesh. And as we're catching up and he's telling me what he's been up to, he told me that his life has taken quite a dramatic turn. And he then went on to explain that he'd been recently diagnosed with a quite rare neurological condition called CIDP. I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce what it is in long form. I'll let Al do that. And I was naturally shocked to hear about it. I was saddened to hear what he was going through and what he was dealing with. But then I was very quickly inspired and motivated when he also told me how he's navigating and what he's doing next, what he's doing with the cards that he's been dealt, which again is so Al Bailey. And without any further ado, I want to bring the man of the hour in with us to tell us more about it. There he is. Welcome. Alistair Bailey.
Stevie, you're too kind.
Well, I just before I brought you in, I said I'd let you tell us more about this life turn of yours, this curveball, if you will. What is CIDP? What is it, and how does it affect?
Yeah, CIDP is chronic inflammatory demyelinating polyrobicular neuropathy.
Well done.
Which is, a mouthful at the best of times, but essentially it's very similar to MS. Mm-hmm. In that your brain tells your immune system to attack your autoimmune system. Mm. That's the long and short of it. It's it's not pleasant, but everyone has curveballs that they have to deal with, and it's about then going, well, do you submit to it, or do you go? We talked about it yesterday. I'm not sure I'm still comfortable with the phrase embrace, but accept that this is the way it's going to be, and how do we move forward? And that's been the big thing. Certainly for me is you've gone from having perfect mobility to Zero.
So if just give us a bit more of an idea of how it does affect you. You said from mobility, like what parts of your daily life does it impact?
Every part of daily life. It impacts being able to go up and down stairs. It impacts being able to walk down the street. It impacts, just tiredness and fatigue and so on. So all those things kick in. Unfortunately, it's a progressive, horrible condition, but you can't. At the end of the day, you've got one of two choices. You either sit there and go, "Woe is me," or you've got a choice of going, not fighting it, the best of it. Fighting, as we both know, is a very, very tiring experience, and quite often no one really wins at the end of it. Accepting it and then working with it is the best path forward. Now, I was diagnosed over a year ago. There are times where you think you can be on top of it, and then there'll be times where you think you need the extra help. I think the key thing is it's not giving up. Guys that we've both known that have had injuries and so on. You have to work a path out.
You're telling me there's no recovery. It's progressive. So it's each day you've had to accept that this is now it. There's no recovering from it. Well, that's what I'm hearing you say.
Yeah.
How do you navigate that?
Well, day by day, to be honest with you, Stevie, it's more about putting in place the coping mechanisms to deal with those issues that aren't going to be detrimental and destroy relationships and so on. And I went through a point of abusing alcohol and so on, but then completely nibbed that in the bud, because I could tell it wasn't healthy and it wasn't good for my condition.
Al, what are some of those coping mechanisms? I mean, and again, I acknowledge you and thank you for being so open about what you went through and vulnerable. And I think that's something a lot of people can relate to. And something happens that people struggle with, it's challenging. They might turn to self-medicating and numbing, right? Alcohol, it's escapism in a way. It's and you had the strength to see that this is a slippery slope. If I continue, this isn't helping me or anyone. So you stopped it because you knew there was a better way, and you had to accept you could have kept going down and spiraling so that you wouldn't have to face it. You wouldn't have to deal with it. And here you are. You've stopped it. You're now figuring out ways to navigate and make the most of what you have, what you still have. So can you tell us what are some of those coping mechanisms that you said you have to put into place?
I think the key thing is not beating yourself up. In actual fact, Michael Klim, the
Aussie
swimmer, he has CIDP as well.
I did not know that. Wow.
And one of the things he said about the way he deals with the condition is that he allows himself an hour a day to just have a complete whinge and moan, and then it's like, right, I've done that, let's crack on. You're allowed to have that moment of, it's not even self-pity, it's just that moment of having a whinge, a complaint, but it releases so much, and then you can go, well, actually, how much of this is really important? And yeah, of course, yeah, probably all of it is important, but how much of it is going to be impactful on the way that you go about your daily life? And I think that for me, that's been the sort of lifeline. Very, very easy for me to sit on the sofa and go, woe is me, I can't do anything, I've got this. That's bullshit.
You have your coping mechanisms. I'm also interested. I had a question for you. When you have that, you give yourself permission to feel the feels, right? It's like, I'm not going to deny, like, it sucks, and I'm not going to just suppress it and hold it down and try and be something that I'm not feeling right now. Let me feel it. But as you said, then once that's done, which is important for you to cope, you shift. What is it then that helps you shift into, as you say, getting on with it?
I think the biggest thing for me is that I've got a really good support network around me, but particularly my wife. The amount that she does to help out, but also allows me that space. Alongside of that, friends, as there've been a lot of friends that have sort of chipped in and helped out, but I think it's your closest that really gives you the support and motivation, and for me, Julie is, my wife has been, the biggest support.
I think a lot of people can take away the importance of support, right? It's just, I think it's great to know that you're not doing this alone. Any challenge that we go through, anything that's impacting us in our life negatively, you don't have to go through it alone. So it's wonderful that you have that support around you. And speaking of support, you're drumming up support for these challenges that you're doing. And that's also, I imagine, another way to cope and accept and make the most of what you're doing now is by focusing outward, right? You're not just focusing on you. Yes, you're doing that and managing what you have to manage, but now you're focusing outward and raising awareness, raising money, helping an organization that is doing the same and trying to, I imagine, find ways to help people cope with and hopefully even cure this condition. And that charity is called GAIN, and you're doing the challenges as an ambassador for them. Tell us more about GAIN and then the challenges.
So GAIN have been a massive support. So the charity is based around Guillain-Barré syndrome and CIDP and other neurological conditions. GBS is probably the most widely known. CIDP is incredibly rare, but the charity is based around supporting research and whatnot, and into those conditions. but they've also been, for me, they've been a phenomenal support network. Since I got diagnosed, because I had no idea what I was diagnosed with. So you have to find out, and then you find people that do know, and you end up talking, and they've been brilliant. So with the challenges, the original challenge was to, to be honest, to say it was a challenge, it was a comment to a few mates saying, right, well, why don't we do Mont Ventoux? One of the iconic rides up the Pyrenees in the Tour de France. And so it went from there, and then it was like, oh, might need to do a bit of training for this. So it's now folded out to 4 challenges. So London, Brighton, the coast to coast, which is Whitehaven to South Shields, over in the northwest to northeast, London, Paris, which, funnily enough, a lot of my ex-teammates want to do that. They're keen on that one, and then Ventoux, will basically be the highlight or the pinnacle.
When do these all start, Al? When does the first one kick off? Have you got it ready to go?
I need to have sign off from my neurologist. The hand cycle's all been organised and so on, but I can't do anything until I get sign off from medical.
Well, you'll find a way. I know you, man. You'll definitely find a way. If it's not a hand cycle, it'll be something else.
Well, we'll do it. And to be honest with you, even if the medics don't sign off on it, I'm going to do it anyway. So
I'll post a link then for people in where I post this, how they can support, how they can get more information about the challenges, about the charity, and obviously anybody that wants to reach out to you will have those details as well, right? If they want to message you, if they want to ask any questions, we'll make sure that they can reach you in the best way, Al. And let's get this out there. What do you say?
Perfect. And thank you so much for the opportunity.
Again, Al, it's an honor and a privilege, and I'm just so grateful that you are doing what you're doing, and you were willing to come on here and share, like I said, so vulnerably. No doubt that's also one of the ways that you cope with this and you accept it. It's like you're just facing it with courage, and it's an inspiration to us all. So I'm very grateful for you, buddy, and can't wait to do the London to Paris challenge.
Perfect.
All right, Al, have a great night. It's late for you in the UK, and everybody else that joined. Thank you so much for joining. And stay tuned for the next one. Great to see you, Al, as always.
Take care, buddy. Thanks, mate.